to yet another impromptu, kinda planned but not planned podcast with the Maxroll Rogues. My name is Ava. I'm the rogue class lead for Maxroll, and unlike the other two people here, I'm actually the least experienced with this, whole guide shenanigans. But it is what it is. And then we
Doing
have
fantastic.
thank you. And then we have two wonderful people that barely need an introduction considering how big they are in the scene. But let's go Mattias and then Die.
Yeah. Hi, I make some rogue guides. I've been only playing only rogue, should be a website, but yeah, I only play rogue since the launch of this game. Love this game, and I'm curious to hear what we get into in this chat.
Yeah, and I am Dioxide. Much like Mattias, I mainly just play Rogue. I don't know how people have other characters in their client. Mine just says Rogue. Are you guys paying extra money for all these extra classes or whatever? But like mine just says Rogue. So
True.
I just pick I just pick Rogue and then make another Rogue and then make another Rogue and then all I have is Rogues. but but I do build guides. Mostly the bow Rogue stuff. Every now and then I might dive into melee oriented stuff, but primarily bow Rogue stuff.
All right. Today we are basically just gonna have a little vibe chat for about an hour. I think was the big, timer that we agreed upon that we were gonna have for this one. And we're gonna talk about a little bit about our expectations coming into season 10 and if they match the actual reality. The favorite builds we have this season, most wanted fix or adjustment for the class to make it more fun for us, and I think the upcoming patch. I think that's the topics for today. So, any
Nice.
topic that you guys want to start with?
We can start with the one you started with, the expectations versus reality.
All right. How did we do?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember us talking a lot about Rain of Arrows and even Rapid Fire and Orphan Maker a bit, and I haven't heard as much after the season launch than before the season launch. Especially Rain of Arrows, I was hoping, but I guess like some of the perk changes and stuff buffed core skills, which Rain of Arrows isn't, so it kind of got mixed in with the rest of the builds, whereas before it was probably above them.
It got a little overshadowed, yeah.
That's my take.
I thought we did. I thought we did pretty good. Most of it's actually been, well before the patch and whatnot. We were pretty spot on with some of that things. Rapid fire is an interesting case because the damage is there. Like it really is. Like the damage is actually there, but it's like one of the worst builds I've ever played ever in D4 with the Orphan Maker. It is so bad. But like when it hits, it's very strong, but there's a very big if. So there's just a lot of RNG related to that. So I mean, you kind of have to give it credit, but no one's going to really actually do that. However, there is an overpower rapid fire that actually just did a 110, and this is without clones. So like, obviously the damage is there, the gameplay isn't though. But outside of that, I think we did a pretty good job of rating the builds. I think we underrated Flurry a little bit for the pit push part of things. I think we're actually probably underrating Invigorating Strike a little bit too, as far as pit pushing. I think it will be able to manage a 110 plus, or 110, 111, but we were close. I think we were very close with our predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. When I saw the changes and everything, right, I was like, oh, these builds are gonna be monk-ass to play and not feel good at all. And lo and behold, those builds were very monk-ass and not fun at all to play, And I think like the relative power, obviously, since we did play a fair bit of pit on PTR, we had a pretty decent understanding of how much damage stuff would do and how much the buffs would be in terms of pit increases from that value. I do feel like the very random extreme Exodia DT variant caught me a little bit off guard. But like in realistic terms, like how many are people are actually gonna get to that point, right? I think the DT build that we kind of expected is doing what it's supposed to, but the Giga 9,000 different breakpoints with masterwork crits here and there and stacking strength, and all that sort of shit, that is doing a little
Hit
bit
and
better than
run.
expected. Yeah. Like,
It's just
Yeah,
like
it's a big part of it.
yeah, I think it's just like when you think about it that way, and you're talking about doing like in the higher pits or whatever. The only build that's in A tier right now that's feels good to play in the high pits is Flurry. That's
yeah.
it. Like Rain is kind of convoluted. Uh, the double basic stuff is definitely convoluted. Rapid fire is absolutely just a guessing game. It's just it's just gonna feel that way. But like Flurry probably feels the most like feel good.
Like a normal build.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a normal build, right? Like going into the higher pits. So yeah. Um
I think what do we define higher pits as then, just for the community as well that are listening? Like what do we
uh
define higher pits?
I guess one that you can't always pass on the first key. So like one that you kind of have to looking for good mobs or a good boss type, roughly.
Mm.
Tier
At least that's
110 ish. Or you
Uh
mean like each individual build is different?
yeah. I guess it'll be depending on the build, right? So that threshold will
Yeah,
be different for every build.
gotcha.
You Ada?
I yeah, I mean with that definition, I think like Dance of Knives is probably up there in terms of cozy pit pushing as well. Because you basically just run around the circles and
Oh yeah.
do the same thing, right? Like it's not it's not fundamentally changing just because you're uh doing high pits. It's just when is your damage ceiling gonna kick in? That's kind of the problem with it. Um, but yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, obviously, like Flurry was an S tier and everything, but I think I was still caught off guard. I think I knew it was comfortable and nice and fast, but I think the damage itself is what was impressive, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, being able
but it's
to use Power Siphon and
yeah,
um,
it's
yeah, it is something that the other core skills like can't do.
Except for
for
Dance of
sure.
Knives.
Like
Haha.
that. So yeah.
But yeah, no. I uh I think I do agree. I do think with it, like I was talking about this on stream earlier as well, where I was like, it feels like more and more of our builds are turning into full on piano builds, and I'm not entirely certain I like that change. It's it's a little bit rough, I think, because
You
the
mean like rogues builds?
yeah, rogues builds, yeah, sorry, because I feel like when we have to go through such lengths to make the builds even function, I'm looking at, like Rain of Arrows and the problems we've had with that in the past, or like Twisting Blades to a certain extent, Dance of Knives, Shadow Step, like all the ranged builds for core. Like, like a bunch of our builds have been sort of struggling to have an identity that doesn't feel clunky as shit, right? And I feel like the more layers we're adding to the game, the more piano-y it becomes to solve a bunch of shit. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
So
Yeah.
personally, I don't really mind. Oh, go ahead, Matthias.
No, I was just gonna say like yeah, like builds are becoming weird to play in general. Like when I first open up D4, it was like combo points, 3-to-1 rotation. Like that was the complexity of Rogue. But now it's like it's a lot more to it.
Nah. I actually don't mind the piano builds if they felt good to play. Like I think you could make a strong case for combo points being piano-ish, right? Because you have to do the rotation and then also cast your buffs. But the rotation made sense, and
Yeah.
it felt fine to play. It wasn't convoluted. It didn't feel super awkward. It just meant that you had to do a little bit more work. The way it is right now just feels extremely awkward to play some of the higher tier pit builds. Like, period. It's just it feels unnatural, unnaturally uncomfortable. And yeah, so on that front, I definitely agree with you, Ava, on that. It's just, which gets people to macro a bit of that kind of stuff, just to not have to worry about doing all those things. And then of course, there's a questionable bar about that, right? If you're macroing 4 or 5 of your skills just to make sure that it feels good to play, right? So like, yeah, it's just it's kind of awkward, and I wish we can get out of that. But like, I don't see that being any different at all until maybe the expansion. So I think we're kind of stuck, given Rogue's kit with that type of gameplay
Mm.
at the higher end.
I guess this kind of turns into the most wanted fix or adjustment for Rogue in general as well, as a topic,
Yeah.
because I do feel like the buff trifecta that we have of Poison Trap, Caltrox, and Smoke Grenade it's in a lot of ways hindering us from having more utility and being able to go away from the piano. Like, I would way rather be able to slot in like Shadow Step and Dash or something like that, right, for more mobility, instead of feeling like, well, if I don't have 100% uptime on Smoke Grenade and I do that efficiently, I'm losing 1 pit tier worth of, damage. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
when the metric has been for the longest time that, oh, if you're not pushing pit or like you're not doing the highest pit with this build, then this build sucks. It's kind of difficult to not justify it for the general community as well.
Yeah. It's kind of a problem across the board where, like, when the game came out, it felt like aspects in my head were like, okay, if they give me 20% damage, that's a good aspect.
Yeah.
And but then the numbers just increasing, and now you have like the stun grenades for DT, it's like 45 or 68 or like 100 plus for the flurry aspects on 200. It's like such high numbers, and then even like smoke grenade is 25, caltrops 45% more damage. Like, you can't go without them. But if they were like, the caltrops was 10% more damage, then you could say like, well, like that 10% increase in damage, I could save that time with dash instead, like in a pit pushing scenario, and it would be comparable. And like 2 people could have the exact same items. One goes dash, one goes caltrops, and they have the same time. It's just like different playstyles and more like user choice. And so I definitely agree there. And I think for me, like, it seems like a big problem is just the size of these multipliers are
That's
too
true.
large.
Yeah, I would prefer more like more passive tree buffs versus active buffs, something like impetus, those kind of things, versus having to slap them on the bar, and push buttons for it. Like, I mean, I get why they did what they did, but like, I don't know, man. Just trying to upkeep the trifecta, as well as proc your trick attacks if you don't have such and such, and your evade to proc the other thing, and then it's just a bit much. It's a bit much, and then like watching a rogue do it, like watching a rogue actually play and do it, just looks really unroguelike. Like, it's probably the best way to look. I mean, if you just take a step back and like look at it from the outside in, and not as like a person who plays rogue, and you just look at it and you ask yourself, is that what a rogue looks like? Is that how a rogue is supposed to play? Like, is that what you envision rogue to be? And the
Yeah.
answer is like, well, no, like, no,
Absolutely
like,
not.
not really at all. So, so but anyways,
Yeah. The Orphan Maker gameplay is not roguelike. Just standing in one spot, shooting once a second, throwing grenades next to me without any mobility skills. Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah,
I have
it's not.
so many dislikes about that weapon so much. I've actually played with it a lot this season, and try to do it in like regular content, and man, like, I don't know, like, so like, it bothers me even like visually, because I mean, think about it, like, it's a 2-hand crossbow that is supposed to hit hella hard, right? And it has this reload mechanic, so like, it's supposed to hit really hard and do mega damage, but our skills look like we're shooting toothpicks at best, right? Barrage, rapid fire. So it's like loading a shotgun with like cotton balls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it visually doesn't even feel good when you do it, nor does
Yeah.
it feel good when you actually try to push the buttons. So it's like, you got this, even for the basics, right? Like the basic attacks, right? When you're shooting Heartseeker and Forceful Arrow and these high hits where we're doing, trillions and trillions of damage, but it literally looks like a little like thread being shot from your weapon, and it's like there's no impact, right? There's no impact for the visual of the mechanic that we're supposed to see. So it's just like
Well, the
there's very
yellow
little for me
number
that
is
like.
really big.
Yeah,
It looks a lot
it
like,
is.
a stormtrooper without VFX. That's basically what I feel like.
Pretty much. So it's hard to enjoy it in a gameplay sense and even a fantasy like sense too. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't really have any redeeming qualities for me at the moment. Um, it's just so, but yeah.
I do feel like Orphan Maker has this, like, I didn't expect it to, provide any wonders for Rogue for this season, right? But I do expect it to, like, when it has gotten to mature a bit, like it's more integrated into the ecosystem and all that sort of stuff, right? Then I think it's gonna be able to be sort of interesting, after a while. It's sort of like how when Clone was first released, it's like, I mean, it was a clown until like 2 seasons ago or whatever, and now it's everything about Clone. But I think like the mechanic overall just it needs more time. It needs more feedback. It needs more time. It needs more just playtesting in general to feel like, to grow into what we need it to be.
Like slow cooked item.
True. That's true. I think me personally, we kind of touched upon it, with the most, wanted fixes I would sort of want. But up there is definitely the buff trifecta, right? I want to be able to put abilities on my bar because of utility reasons, and then I have a few things that are used for damage reasons, right? I think that's a pretty big one for me. Like if I'm doing damage with say twisting blades, right? I want to have utility that matches that playstyle, whatever that might be. Like let's say that you have a trap that when you're standing in, like when you're in it and your twisting blades are spinning, like your twisting blades also hits all targets within a trap. Like some sort of utility that just makes the abilities more interesting to play. Whether like no matter what that might look like. Because right now when it's just damage and it's just not even just like damage integration, but just a damage multiplier, then every build looks the same more or less, And I don't think that I think that's kind of a wasted opportunity.
Yeah. Not only the skill bar, like you say, and like utility and mobility, but also with the items, which I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the boots, they have over like I think season 9 and season 10, it's been good. Obviously now we have chaos armor, which is not ideal, but like the boot slot, like the only damage you can get is like penitent greaves, which in my opinion shouldn't deal damage. But
Mhm.
like if they could do that for like pants, for chest, uh, that would be great. And that kind of ties into like the having only maximum one mythic per
Yeah.
character. Then like that would open up all of a sudden like, wait, I'm not going to use Stardust or Air, but then like Shroud is no longer an option. So then like I need another chest, and we don't have a lot of offensive chest slots. So then, wow, all of a sudden we might use like Kanduras and like have a pull on
Yeah.
evade, or all sorts of things would open up if you just take away these defensive items.
Yeah. I've been quite vocal about my thought about like mythics in general. I feel like when they got added to the pool, builds just got very one dimensional. Like you basically had 3 slots sorted for every single build all the time. If you had like,
And then like plus
innate
one
synergy.
sort, like four items sorted, because there's usually one unique for that
Yeah.
build. Like Barrage uses Wind Force. Yeah, it's like half the build. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been obviously, community meme at this point, but like my, dash build, right? There are so many things that you could pick in those utility slots that would literally make it a build compared to other builds. But you can't, and then you need to sacrifice even more damage when you don't have damage to sacrifice to begin with those archetypes. That it just becomes like a negative spiral of, in a way. Um, and I feel
Well, we're
like
talking about the. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go.
Yeah, so if we're talking about the mythics and stuff, like I've always been more of an advocate of just like, uh, which is probably an unpopular opinion, of course, but like I'd rather see like just being able to just wear one mythic, and if chaos armor comes back, then we just only be able to wear one chaos armor, but buff the values of said mythics as well as the chaos armor, but
Mm.
limited to only one per character. You know, one per character kind of, or slotting one
Yeah.
on your character, not one per character in general. But like so, and the reason for this being is because it, you know, kind of like you said before, like you know, like if every character is using all like the same 2 or 3 mythics all the time, then you have no like it just becomes homogenized. So it's like you have to, when you think about the mythics we have right now, even without buffing or anything like that, if you were limited to one, you have to make a choice now, right? It's like, oh, well, does this build benefit a little bit more from air, or does it build, you know, benefit a little bit more from starless? Do I have to have starless? If not, could I just do shroud? You know, now you have to think about what
Mm.
like, and like all three of them can work well on the build, but now you have to, you know, think about which one, you know, has the better utility or the better, you know, output for that particular build. So not every build is running the exact same mythic every time. And
Yeah.
same thing with the chaos armor. You're like, hey, you know, sacrifice one slot. You know, you got one slot, sacrifice it for one specific chaos unique. What would that be? You have all these
Mhm.
different choices, but you can only wear one. So now we have, you know, there's diversity in our gearing because, you know, some builds might care for, you know, a resource per se, and others might care more for the cooldown. Some might just want more damage. Which one's going to give me the most damage? So like now you have options that makes you have to make choices versus just, you know, I want all of them. You know, 5 chaos armors, 3 mythics. Let's go. You know, like I mean, I don't know, just you know, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And also
yeah.
when you find it, it becomes special too as well. Like because
Yeah.
like let's say you know, chaos armors being as hard as it is, getting the correct GA or whatever like that, or getting a mythic. So when you find it, it literally like shapes your, like it changes your build. Like not change your build, but like it's a big upgrade to your build. Like when you find it, instead of like oh, this is like a slightly better than the aspect multiplier, like it is right now, right? In some cases. So like when you
Mm.
find it, like you feel really good because it's like, oh, this is gonna make me feel really strong. But you only get one.
I do feel like another problem that you kind of touched upon there as well is the GA system with mythics. Because I feel like getting the mythic should be the pog moment, right? Like you're actually getting it, you're getting the one you want and everything, and then like only eluding it and finding out, well, didn't have GA on cooldown reduction, so I guess this goes in the bin. You know, like that doesn't feel good for anyone, right? Especially with how
Right.
scarce they are. Like even with, I have, I think I'm getting close to 100 hours now this season, and I'm not exactly swimming in mythics. I mean, there is obviously the meme that I ate all of Chronix's mythics this season, but most of it was been, you know, the same ones like Selling or Doombringer or Arterials, which none of them kind of work with the builds we're playing, right? But then when I finally get the ones I want, you know, whether it be Starless or Air Perdition or Shaco, whatever, and then you see that it's on the wrong G, and you're like, fuck, you know, it's not nice that I got it, but it's more a relief than it is excitement. And then it's also a little bit of disparage because I didn't get the correct GA.
Yeah, it's similar to when they did fix, like, you could find a 4 GA Shard of Rathiel with the lowest potential roll of the aspect, but they obviously
Yeah.
changed that recently. Yeah, they
Yes.
kind of, I don't know if they could do some fix like that to solve the thing you're talking about, but
Yeah, because I think
yeah.
like when something is as rare as the mythics are right now, as the chaos items are right now, and there is no player agency, there is these layers of RNG on top of getting the item to begin with. I'm not sure how good that feels to people in general, and if people want that sort of system. I don't know about you guys. What do you think about the whole GA system for the rare items? I think like for the uniques and stuff, that's another beast entirely. I think that's fine, right? But for like chaos uniques and for mythic items in particular, what do you think?
You think they should just roll like 4 GA in general, or just like just
No
remove the
GA.
GA and just
Just
give them the
remove the
max roll,
GA.
or
I think just remove the GA or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as. I mean, I crafted like 12 Shakos to get cooldown reduction because I'm going for like giga pit pushing. But in general, I don't really care about which GA I get on Mythics. Like all season, I've been running a non-GA arrow partition on the core skills, but I've been like playing Flurry and like it's fine. So it's not the biggest of deals, I guess. And at least then there is like for people who grind enough to find two, then there's a chance that one of them might be better than the other. So
I guess it also just
yeah,
becomes build dependent too as well, right? Like some
mm-hmm.
builds, like especially like DT and Reign of Rails to a lesser extent, you know, feels like they require GAs to be in a certain stat or a certain slot, right? Where as most of the builds I play so far outside of Reign of Rails, like I didn't too much care where the GA landed for the most part in terms of just putting it together and playing it. Now I'm in maxing it, of course. It's like, okay, cool. I'm with the GA on the basic attacks or a GA on the, whatever. Uh, that will give me just slightly more damage, but it didn't affect what I was doing per se. So I would definitely say that that's probably on the per build basis. But it wouldn't bother me either way if they removed GA from the mythics or whatnot, or even the chaos. It wouldn't it wouldn't affect me personally, but um yeah, I wouldn't be against it.
I do think there's
Yeah,
always. Sorry, go on.
no, it's just like I remember I was so excited for was it expansion or something when they kept mentioning like the stat squish and making us weaker again and
Yeah,
I-
about that stat squish.
yeah. It's funny how
Yeah.
it went completely the opposite direction. I feel like we're like 10 times stronger now than a year ago.
We just squished more numbers inside your monitor. That's what we did. Yeah.
But yeah, um,
More zeros. We squished more zeros in the build.
Pog. No,
Nah, I don't know what they can really do at this point
yeah,
without like really
exactly.
pissing off the player base at this point. Like if they did like a true stat squish and literally like you're just as effective as you once was, just the numbers look, reasonable, people would rage, right?
Yeah,
It's like I was dealing trillions of damage, now I'm dealing like 100,000, but you're still doing the same pit level. But it's like, but I'm weaker, the number says I'm weaker. Right.
yeah.
But like, yeah, it's just, yeah, it didn't go over too well when it happened in WoW in terms of the community is concerned. They got used to it obviously over time, but like when they did it, it was not popular then. But in action RPG where you want to see big pretty numbers, yeah, people are going to be upset about that. But but yeah, I was like just like you though, Mattias. I was really excited about a stat squish because I would like for numbers to matter. Now it's just kind of, if you see the big yellow floaty number that pops up, it's like, oh, cool, look, pretty super, pretty trillion crit number or whatever. But the other numbers you don't care about at all because it's so bloated.
mm,
It's so bloated, right? So like, and then when you see progress, it's like, oh, I was hitting for, I don't know, 2.5 trillion. Now I'm hitting for 2.8 trillion. It's like that doesn't really feel like you made progression. Where if you were hitting for, I don't know, 20K, but now you're hitting for 50K, like that feels better. Like that just looks better on the screen. It's like, oh, I'm actually making progress and I care about that number.
I think
Um,
when numbers just become unquantifiably large as well, it becomes really hard to relate to them, right? Like going from like 1,000
right.
to like 1,000,000, you're like, whoa, because it's very easy to quantify, but it's like how many zeros you're adding towards the end, like it's like, oh yeah, I think that was 24 zeros, like that's obviously we don't get that visual representation anymore, right? But like just as a concept, it becomes more and more difficult to conceptualize how big of a number that is. Um,
And
Speaking of bigger
uh,
number, hotfix. Oh, sorry, Matthias, you want to say something?
no, yeah, I was just like the problem for me with big numbers or the lack of stat squishing is tier 2, tier 3 of world tier. They just disappear
yeah.
because as soon as you put on your multipliers, now you're in tier 4 and you're one-shotting things. So the progression, yeah, is kind of ruined from it. So that's the
Yep.
problem I see.
And I do feel like the progression right now is actually really good. I think like for the most class, like most classes, the progression from going into early game and, you know, fresh character and everything, to getting to the speed farming version is like it's long enough. I actually think it's tuned pretty well.
Yeah. I'm
May
curious. I'm actually excited to play without Chaos Armor because I think that will like be a reality check for a lot of people. Like, oh, I'm actually a lot weaker now.
Yeah. So I think, like Dai was about to allude to as well, that is a decent segue to the hotfix coming up. So patch coming out tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, on Tuesday. And with that comes a few design or number tuning changes that impact some builds more than others.
Big number go up.
Big number go
More.
up, and for some builds, big number more frequent. Like Death Trap, for example, is actually a build now before you have the Exodia setup, which is, you know, always welcome. But for you guys' builds, what are the exciting change for Tuesday?
I
Well,
mean, the pit pushing variant. I have it all ready to go. Missing like 2 basic skill ranks, but otherwise, my gear is pretty Korean. And I think that it's hard to predict how much it is gonna be buffed, but probably like 3 to 5 tiers or more of pit clears. But that's the boring Orphan Maker build. So
so we're
it
looking
doesn't
at
affect many
like
people, but it looks pretty on the leaderboard, I guess.
So
we have
what?
a 120, 123 prediction probably. 123
Yeah,
high end,
maybe. I mean,
124
it's hard
maybe.
to say. They like from a patch notes, it's hard to know what or like how it will truly play out, I guess.
Yeah. I guess people on my Heartseeker video, they have been commenting like, oh, did you see that they're buffing Orphan Maker, to 100, percent now instead of 50 and whatnot. And I think my gripe with the Orphan Maker is really not about the damage, and it never really, honestly, never really has been. It hasn't been out for that long, but it's just like I feel like they. It almost makes me feel like the devs just wanted to push Rogue into a, to not get picked on the Hellties leaderboard.com,
Yeah.
right? So like, it's like, oh well, they haven't hit 120, they haven't hit 120 yet, but the other classes have, sort of thing, or they will. It's like, let's allow Rogue to actually like not feel that far behind. Yeah, sure, last place, but like, kind of last place versus definitely last place, right? So
Yeah.
We were given a
so I
participation
think
trophy, like basically now,
right. So I think so it's almost like because that change doesn't do anything for any other content. Like
Yeah.
it's absolutely unnecessary for everything else besides the 0.01% of content that someone would do. Like how does that help anything? Like it doesn't help, or Orphan Maker Barrage doesn't help, or Orphan Maker Rapid Fire doesn't help, or Orphan Maker Pin Shot. It doesn't help anything. It's just a bigger number that is only relevant to that specific content. So I'm like, okay, that's what they did. What I would have preferred, and I'm not a coder, obviously, so I don't know how long or how difficult it would have been to do that in the short time frame they had. Was like, if they wanted to give a damage boost to Orphan Maker, they could have did it in the form of like sort of just relaxing the reload attack speed penalty a little bit by 50%, and like give us the same value in terms of a buff, but just make it feel better in a sense.
I would have liked that,
right?
well, yeah.
And like at least that would have been more like, oh, I might consider playing this in, Helltide or in, Inferno Horus, because now it actually feels a little, it feels a little better to actually use, or even speed farming in a sense, right? Whereas now it's just, oh, this really matters for like 3 people.
Yeah.
Right, like who are actively really really trying with excellent gear, trying to push on the top leaderboard, and it's just like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And you also made a mention somewhere about whether or not the shadow clone changed, the shadow clone overpowering with the unstable power now. That's pretty huge. Wondering if that just applies to shadow clone in general or only with that power, because like the way that like is worded, right, it's worded as if shadow clone was supposed to overpower.
Yeah, but it
right,
hasn't
but
ever.
it doesn't, right? Yeah. So it's like, when you know when you brought that up, I was like, yeah, that is it supposed to, like, like, is it, and or will it now, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and then the imbuement thing, the imbuement buff, I'm still kind of a little sad about because cold clip still overrides. It's such a cool concept. The imbuement chaos perk powers. It's such a really cool concept, and it just doesn't really, you don't really get the effect, and it's not going to happen this season apparently. So it's just a multiplier, and that's kind of all it's being used
Yeah.
for, unfortunately.
And I feel like that's such
But
a missed concept, and I feel like that has been a problem overall for like a lot of the rogue directions lately, where it feels like, oh, this could have been so cool if, this was taken into account. Like the reload is good and cool if it didn't make it feel like you're playing a slideshow. I understand like the idea behind it and like wanting to slow down rogue, whatever, and having like a more methodical rotation, but I feel like at some point, like with full gear, you should be able to do a 1-1 rotation that doesn't have you get hindered from doing the rotation, right? Question from chat is, any chance for DT to become the Rogue top 1 push build after the update? And the quick answer is no. The buffs to that variation of DT is like 30%-ish damage with the hit and run setup. And the extra energy that you're getting from a beast cornered is basically only active if you're doing some really silly shenanigans. That kind of costs you a decent amount of damage as well. So like it's getting buffed. It's getting buffed by maybe a pit tier and a half in terms of raw damage. But it's not enough to be like a massive game changer. I think
top
the
one,
sorry.
is it top one T100 speed farm at least? I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
wait, it's already there.
yeah.
Nothing's gonna beat that.
Yeah, it's still the best, and it's was increased by like, its damage was increased by 30%. The problem is that you're getting to the point now in speedrunning that it's not about the damage. You're already kind of one tapping everything, and it's mostly about like, does the dash bug get fixed? Do you still play basically a slideshow whenever dash is freaking out, and that hasn't been addressed. So it's likely gonna be the best speed farmer in the game still. That doesn't change, but it doesn't beat the pit pushing in terms of the really silly orphan maker builds in comparison.
And if
Uh,
it's a fun build, yeah, just it's really not that big of a deal if it's at a certain spot. If you like it, play it.
yeah,
If you don't like it, don't play it.
and I
Um,
think Death Trap, and I think this is something, Matthias, you and I should have like at the very least, I obviously you should have input as well, but. Matthias, you and I have had some almost beef about Death Trap and what we think about Death Trap. Uh, interwebs beef for 3 seconds, but
ooh, can I be a referee? Can I be a referee?
heck yeah.
Yeah, you being the mediator.
But no, I feel like they should have. It's pretty clear if you're reading between the lines, I suppose, that they kind of want the Death Trap kind of gone this season, right? At least in the variation that we are used to. With all of the changes to like Aftermath and everything, the only build that really benefited that much from it was DT. So it felt pretty clear that they wanted it gone, or at least like way reduced in effectiveness. And I'm kind of curious about what you guys feel like they should do to retain the feeling that we have right now of playing Death Trap without completely removing it from the game. What do you think, Mattias, based off our funny
Yeah, I
stuff?
mean, I think the speed of what you can move with Death Trap right now, like if it can like barely clear tier 4 content in damage wise, then I feel like I'm okay with that. It's like meaning like you would sacrifice a bunch of offensive aspects or whatever to make it work. And if you
Hey,
wanted to
Chip with
like
the raid,
push with
thank you so
Death Trap, you
much.
would have to play a
Appreciate
slower
it.
version that is like I don't know, like that would be my design choice.
How you doing, Chippy?
It's just
Doing
too
good?
good.
Thank you so much for the
Then I
follows,
mean,
guys. It's kind
I'm
of
glad
hard to
they
talk about it
kind of
while we haven't podcast,
removed
but
it
yeah.
because they said they would. Like to me, it's like the relationship with anyone, but especially if Like when someone says something, I'm expecting them to do what they say. And when they like for 3 seasons in a row are like, yeah, Death Trap is no longer going to be the #1 build, and like we have the receipts of them saying this, and then like it's like 4 seasons, it's the best build. What's happening? So then like that could injure the trust that we have as a player base with like they're not doing what they say. So I'm glad that they addressed it in one way, but obviously people were maybe not happy that it's gone, because it's like their little baby that they've enjoyed for multiple seasons, and it's of course it's fun, but yeah, it's just to me it's like, why would I play Pen Shot when there's Death Trap? It's kind of just removes, it's like by virtue of it being in the game, it takes away a lot of the other builds, and just makes everything else so much worse and slower.
That's
80%
that's kind of where
Thanks so
I'm
much for the
at
resub as
with
well.
what
I
Mattias
appreciate it
said. I
so
mean,
much.
granted, I'm out of everyone in this podcast. Everyone as in us three, I have the least amount of experience with Death Trap. I mean, I did play Death Trap some, with Matthias's leftover gear that he was grateful to share a couple of seasons back. But it's just like, but so the thing is that the devs are going to have a hard time making, when you give some like a class or anyone something that feels that incredible to play and does legit everything. It solves every problem, does your taxes, it set up dates for you, like, all those things. It does everything, right? It becomes very difficult to make other rogue builds, any other rogue builds, period, like feel good by comparison. So like that becomes the hard part, where it's like, well, now that you gave us a, one size fits all sort of thing, how do you make other builds or skills just as appealing? Like, because of course, I mean, do you give core skills like a full screen pull? Do you give like, so now you have to start thinking about tacking on different incentives for other skills or aspects just to kind of make them feel half as good as what Death Trap currently does, right? So I think the appeal is going to be an issue for Blizzard, and like as you see, they're I don't know what route they really want to take, but it just seems like they just want to make it harder and harder to get to that giga stage of Death Trap right now. Whereas like, that seems to be their answer. Whereas like, okay, well, it's super good, but we don't really know how to nerf it properly to where it, people don't want to play it. But maybe if we make it harder to build into it, then maybe that would be fine. So I guess they're trying to experiment with how to pull back all the incentives that Death Trap gives without destroying the build itself. And that's a hard one, because I mean, I wouldn't want to see it go away. People like it. I never want to ruin people's fun by any means, but I do find it, difficult. Like, and even when I was talking to Mippy for a little bit on like a dual stream that we did, he's super enjoying the build, and it's like he says, I don't know if I can really play another rogue build because this is so satisfying. Like how do you get that satisfaction with any other play, any other rogue build in general? And that's the tough part. So like I would hate to be in the dev shoes right now, where it's like, well, dang, Death Trap is still, mostly alive and functioning the way that it kind of always has. Even better now, with hit and run and stuff. And it's like, what do you know what I'm saying? I feel like they're gonna be stuck with this until the expansion, when they can actually do mega changes to everything, where they can peel back more layers without, pitchforks at Blizzard headquarters or whatnot. But I feel like they created a monster that they're not gonna really be able to, get rid of.
Yeah.
In in the sense. And then every other core skill or basic skill or whatever is just gonna pale in comparison to the feeling of Death Trap. And
Yeah. I feel like there are many
um,
compounding problems with Death Trap, right? And I think like that's where it becomes very difficult, because they can just do a numerical tuning on Death Trap damage, because no other build but Death Trap cares about the damage from Death Trap, right? You normally use it for the utility. But it's like the fact that it spends energy so that it can mega abuse things like preparation makes it very difficult to tune, because that also means it has unlimited mobility, because you're spending enough to reset basically every cooldown instantly all the time. And then you have basically perma-survivability. You can't die with it. Like, you have to very, very, very try to die with Death Trap. Like, you have to stand AFK, blindfolded, while sitting on your hands to maybe die at this point. Um, while also clearing pulling the entire screen, because it's supposed to be that utility as its core, right? Where it actually just pulls the entire map together more or less into one tight pixel. And on top of that, it forgoes essentially all the need for anything else, right? It does the speed, it does the single target, it does everything. And I think that you can tackle the tuning of death traps in so many ways without impacting a lot of the other builds. But I think at the core, I mean, if you get rid of prep, this is gonna be fucking. This is a take and a half. But if you remove preparation, which has been the culprit for basically every single rogue build and has been the staple for rogue like for this longest time, where basically nothing else is relevant because of prep, that also immediately solves it. You no longer can dash around immediately. Like, you might do damage, but you'll be slower. Like, that is not. That's also sort of solving the problem that we have right now, which is blitzing, the entire map at the speed of light.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. Like the game was different. Like they not only with left prep, they buffed it so much. Like it used to be 100 energy and not give damage reduction. Now it's 75 energy and gives a bunch of damage reduction. Like they could, to me, they could, instead of having every 75 energy we spend, we could be every 150 or every 200, and it would still be good because we want to be able to use our ultimate often for the no witness and vehement and all these other buffs. So it's like we would still use preparation if it was like 3 times as bad. So that kind of indicates that maybe it is too strong.
I also do feel like if you should probably incentivize to do every second skill is death trap, but you have to cast something else in between, and that shouldn't be a dash, right? You should be incentivized to
No.
use something else, like let's say flurry DT or like whatever, right? Like casting 2 other skills so it can sort of address the problem as well in that regard. But the problem with that variation is that either then they have to buff DT damage, like the actual damage by it, like from it, by an absurd amount to compensate, because we're talking about nerfing it by a factor of like 10 already, right? Um,
I'm looking at chat. It's like so much hate for DT. Nah, man, none of us hate DT.
no,
I don't
like,
really play it much, and I don't hate DT. But I do think the idea of I've always been the fan of diversity, like in the builds per se, like feeling like you can feel strong and powerful across different builds and whatever. So if there's an outlier that kind of really sticks out, that is basically Darth Vader. For lack of a better word, I call DT Darth Vader because literally it is exactly what it is, right? But then you kind of have an issue with things being stagnant and everything just never really meeting up to the to the level of a set build. And that's just any build. It's not just DT, but any build period when it happens. Like clone right now is a big problem with the class because it stagnates our abilities to be able to do other things that we would like to do, like especially utility related things, uh, because clone exists, right?
mm,
That's a problem, right? Um, but yeah, at some point, you have to kind of address the elephant in the room in some way if you want to have more experiences that feel fun and relative to the strongest thing, right?
mm,
So yeah, it's definitely not like a I prefer this, I prefer that kind of thing. Because I'll give you an example. Like I also feel that way about random rails, and I play random. Like I like random rails a lot. I really do. I really do like random rails, but I also think that the idea of like our ultimate skills being as strong as they are, and they can't really be used as utilities because they're like coming off a cooldown so fast, being like really spammable in a sense. Random rails is not as spammable as DT, of course, but like point being is just like it pigeonholes the class from being able to do more things. And then we just kind of stuck. We're stuck with prep. We're stuck with having an ultimate on the bar, whether it's Shadow Clone, Random Rails, DT, for damage.
yeah,
And that's the class. And there'll never be anything. And it's been like that for 5 seasons. So like something has to give,
yeah,
right?
makes sense. I do feel like ultimate should either be a big oomph, like you're basically like you're bonking, the whole screen or whatever, but you do it on a long cooldown, or it needs to be utility, right? Like the second it becomes spammable and it's like with the different scaling options that we have in the game, for example, like it becomes rough. Like I don't see a world where we have the ultimate damage multipliers that we have right now, and it's ever gonna get into a balanced state. I genuinely
Well,
don't.
BT comes from the grenades a lot, right? So that would be an easy thing to adjust.
I mean, yeah, but there are so many generic multipliers that are like not as strong, right? But you would only nerf it by like, if you remove the stun grenade tag tomorrow, right? You probably lose 5 hit tiers, but you don't lose more than that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually affect the speed farming variant that much because you're running shit like Frostbitten over one of the grenade ones just to get insta freeze. So I the ultimate support that we got in terms of just them being able to be used more as like damage options, like it's cool. It added something, but it wasn't tuned with longevity in mind. It feels like it was tuned to be like, we need a big like wow thing, and then they added that.
It definitely did that for sure. That's exactly what it did. And yeah, so yeah, but I don't see any major things coming to any of that until the expansion, because I think the devs will piss off way too many players if they made too big of adjustments now
Yeah.
on some of those things, right? And so like we're kind of stuck. I'll say stuck. Some people might not mind it, but like we're kind of stuck with ultimates are going to be what they are until expansion. We're stuck with clone. We're stuck with, um, well, like what we said. You guys remember when preparation used to suck, right? Like way
Yeah.
back in the day, like when prep was awful. Remember that? Remember those times?
But I mean, I think that's also the problem, right? Because like we got quacks, which I mean, remove quacks already, like delete the fucking thing, right? But it's also the fact that like actually don't please, because until you solve other problems, but as a concept, like
I
just
hate
be
that
gone.
rune.
But the another problem is like we solved the game way more now, so there's certain things that we didn't have access to early on, like exactly how attack speed worked, the different attack speed sources, the pace of the game, like all of these things have developed as we have figured things out, or when I've been sitting in a training dummy area, to the point where we can min max our characters kind of too much, in a sense, around these kind of old archaic systems that didn't really evolve as fast as the game did. I think like the class specialization as a whole is one of those systems that is like, it's cool that we have it, right? Like a little bit extra, utility or like customization for our characters, but it's like, do we really get any customization? It's like you are playing this build to pick this thing, and it's just like a dial they tune whenever they need to kind of thing. I don't know. I have a big hate for specializations right now.
I mean, I like it in the leveling. It becomes less and less of a relevant thing later, but in the progress, it's like, oh, I can move from combo points to inner sight, or like it's like I enjoy the little steps, and I think maybe beginners do too. It's like a small thing that feels big to a new player. But yeah, I think yes, like waiting for the expansion is obviously, it's easy to put like a lot of hope, or like I will just behind that door, everything will be sunny and green and blue skies and happy
Definitely not
days.
saying hope by any means. I'm
No,
just saying
no.
changes, right?
I think
It could be good or
I'm in
bad. Who
this.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
But
Like it's easy to, obviously there will be changes, but I feel like there are small things like low hanging changes. Like it's like nerf preparation slowly but surely. Like in a lot of these MOBAs and other games, they adjust such minuscule changes, like 1% things, and then like every 3 months, 1%. Well, eventually, 2 years later, now this thing that used to be bad is good because it's just like slowly crept up. I think they could do a lot more of that, like season to season, or even mid-season patches of just like small 5-10% changes until something is in like a really good spot.
I mean,
But
there
I'll
are.
throw a.
Go on.
No?
You go.
I was just gonna throw out a solution for a DT or potential alternative way to make it work is like if Ice and Dark unique pants, instead of adding damage, it gave removed the cooldown from Death Trap and gave it the core skill. Like it made it a core skill without a cooldown, and now it's like it's not resetting preparation. Or actually, I was thinking like it will remove the ulti tag and become a core skill, I guess. And then it was just like you can spam Death Trap like it's twisting blades, but like you're not going to be permanently dashing. So like maybe there's something around there that gives like utility that like people can play this build where they can spam this big purple circle, but
Actually,
without like breaking
I
the whole
actually
plan.
really like that suggestion. Like the overall, like remove the ultimate tag from it, but like if you're making it a core tag, then you can, maybe use two ultimates with it or something like that. Like clone and a DT, whatever that
Yeah,
would look
exactly.
like, or like something cool.
So the clone casts as DT now?
And maybe
Yeah.
DT is like a smaller circle. It's like
Yeah,
a little tiny
exactly.
death trap that you can like spam. Like that would be cool.
I think there are many cool ways to transform this into like, okay, we want to have DT, but not like this because it's too strong. How can we go about it? I think there are
Yeah.
many interesting ways to go about it. But I do feel like the main core of the argument well, not even the argument, the discussion you and I had, right, was like the concept of removing archetypes, because we've had it happen too frequently for Rogue, where something is really well received by the community and generally kind of fun. I'm looking at Victimized Heartseeker, I'm looking at Andariels, and looking at TB with, that's fucking shenanigans. A bunch of these,
Surge.
yeah, like, what was it called? Like the Barber Ice TB build, like there are a bunch of archetypes that have existed previously, but were just nuked without them even overperforming, or somewhere overperforming, but they were sort of just removed because of tuning reasons, right? And I wish that instead of things being purged from the game, like some, really unholy thing, then we would actually see them just in a more confined version or whatever that is still viable, but not maybe as broken as what we have right now.
Yeah.
So
Take a question in the chat, or
yeah, sure. In terms
is
of
that in terms of personal
yeah,
gameplay? No, you good. You good.
in terms of
It's your turn.
personal gameplay enjoyment, which build would you guys like to see becoming the top one rogue for pit push, being the hell yeah I can top meta with my favorite build, dash rogue? Nah, that's
Sounds.
basically what we're playing right now, I guess. You guys go first, and I'll think about it a little bit.
I don't think people really want to hear my answer.
Oh
My
no!
take.
All
No.
right.
I guess so. Man, I personally really don't care about top one pit push until there's like a relevant competitive system in this game. Like having to upload to a third party site. Don't get me wrong, healthsize.com is doing an excellent job at like monitoring, putting those things together with the really good interface and whatnot. So they're doing a fantastic job. But until there's a mode that isn't, sit on the mob, teabag them for 30 seconds, spawn boss, wrong boss, rinse and repeat sort of thing, I honestly do not care about like what the build does at the very top, because the gameplay is all the same to me. Honestly, I just would like I like I just want builds to feel good to play, and whatever content that is. And that's pretty much primarily. It doesn't have to be number one. Like I'm not going to be upset if, like, let's say my favorite build right now, Heartseeker, and technically speaking, it technically is number one, the Orphan Maker version. But I'd rather play the standard version. I don't care if it's number one. It feels good to play. You know, that's it, right? So,
All right. What are you then, Mattias?
I mean, I've pushed quite a lot, and there is definitely something to that it's like they all kind of blend together. Like no matter what skill you're playing, you're sitting on an elite bag for 30 seconds and rinse and repeating until the boss spawns, and it's just very very similar. But I do like the thing I do enjoy with pushing is when you can take advantage of pulling 2 or 3 elite packs on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And making the most of that, which is like the current. That's why I'm actually enjoying the current Orphan Maker pushing, because we have 75% generic cooldown reduction. So then that applies to evade. So even though in this season we don't have evade charges, but like I can evade every second just by virtue of like the Shaco and everything, and that becomes kind of fun because I can like kite elite packs by evading, shooting twice, evading, shooting twice. It becomes like a fun dance where then I walk to the next elite pack, and then I can walk to the third elite pack, and I'm pulling them all. And then because I'm using forceful arrow, like as soon as they come close to me, they get pushed back. But it's like it's actually quite enjoyable in terms of like having a fun pit pushing build compared to what I have played. But I mean, they all do blend together. In I would agree with Dai. Like I would ultimately like to see a different kind of system altogether. Like the gauntlet was one attempt, but somewhere in the middle where it's like there's more to it than just how much damage can you deal. Like some more like strategic decision making and accuracy and mobility requirements or whatever it might be. That would be a part of it. That would be my dream scenario. But to answer the question, I don't think it like they're all the same. It really.
I think my answer to this would be an imbuement build, and I'm not just talking about poison imbuement, but like we had seasons where stacking imbuements has been more or less good for certain archetypes. We have it this season right now with Shadow Step, where you have both Shadow Imbuement and Poison Imbuement to deal damage, but you deal damage with neither. You deal damage with Poison Traps is kind of weird. But the whole concept of like combining, imbuements, I one of the feedbacks I've given historically has been, let us combine imbuements for an additional effect. Like a unique item that lets you use multiple imbuements at the same time and also changes the imbuements to have a duration instead, so that you can do like a Shadow Frost sort of twisting blades without needing to giga invest into 16 charges for 2 different imbuements and fuck around with that, right? But also like that unique would then give you sort of some really cool extra effects when you are combining imbuements. So let's say you're adding poison and shadow, you would do like the shadow detonations would also apply poison imbuement or something, right? Like you just adding their effects together to do something cool. Doesn't have to just be numerical things, but just playstyle changes as well. That's the sort of stuff that I would like to see in the long term for like pit pushing or something like that, where it's like playing more into the imbuement style of rogue and not basically every single archetype that isn't that.
That kind of makes me miss some of the earlier seasons, like when I would do like Shadow and Cold Imbuement on the bar or whatever, rotating that with combo points. Like I felt like that's sure that was considered piano back in the day, but like it was a feel good piano. Like you hit Cold Imbuement, it didn't, there was no animation, right? It just happened. So like it didn't stop you from doing other stuff when you switched Imbuments or whatever. So like it felt good. It felt good to play at the time. Or at least I liked it at the time. Oh, there's Peacha. Yeah, Peacha did that too as well. I think he did triple of what was it? Yeah, Peacha. Didn't we do? Because I had it in like one of the Maxroll guys one season where I did triple imbuement and flurry with the combo points or whatever. Just to get it. I mean, it was actually quite insane to pull off. But it was neat. It was neat.
I feel like
I like the idea about like blending the imbuement stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool to do.
because I feel like imbuement is such a missed opportunity right now. It just feels like you can do so much more with it without fundamentally changing a lot. And I feel like having imbuements be charged is still, honestly, I'll go even further.
Make it time. Make it
Make
a
it a
duration
duration.
instead of like
Yeah, make it a
charges, right? Yeah.
duration. Make you able to, and this is like one of those customization things that are really missing in this game, right? Make dash not have a cooldown but cost a lot of energy instead. Like having that option, doesn't matter if it's like makes you able to spam it, because you shouldn't be able to spam it, right? Like at least early game. But then you can solve for those resources and then be able to play around it. Because this class, it depends. The entire kit is about spending energy, and anytime something can't spend energy, it just dies. Dash Rogue, dead on arrival, basically. It can't spend energy, and you're forced to have 0.5 second cooldown, so you can't go about it. Dance of Knives is almost dead every single season, but then we find some weird ass way to bring it back. But it's never because of Dance of Knives doing the damage, it's because of either Azure Wrath or like poison traps or like something else that isn't this. And one of those
Don't worry, it'll be grenades next season. Don't
I
worry.
100% giving it back the grenades tag and we're back to like spitting at grenades. But like, you see what I mean, right? Like it's I wish we had more options to spend energy because they would just fix so many archetypes right off the bat. And not having that option makes no sense when they keep designing the class around spending energy.
That could be a utility aspect to give some value to those slots.
Yep. I mean,
like you drain 10 energy per second or whatever the number is, and then like
yeah. Your your Dance of Knights no longer has charges, but costs like 10 energy per second, increasing with how long you're spinning or something, so try and prevent like permanent spins if you want to, but like whatever you want to do. There's so many ways of addressing it that it would be cool. I mean, heck, I have utility aspects on my amulets in some builds, like to try and make it work. You know, like just bring them here. I'll happily play with them. Dance of grenades, yeah.
What is your favorite build of the season?
Yeah, I think that's a kind of nice closing thing. I mean, I think it comes to no surprise, but Dance the Knives is pretty nice this season. I like it. It's a pretty
No way.
no way, right? But it's a pretty chill build, you know. Like I'm having a blast. The gear entry for it is kind of low, so you can just like there's no barrier of entry. You get two aspects and a unique, and you're kind of good to go. And I feel like this is probably the best Dance of Knives has felt since since the start of it. I don't think it's ever felt this good. What about you, guessing? Mattias?
I was like I planned to play Flurry for like 3 seasons in a row, but I never did because Death Trap existed. But now finally this season I got to play Flurry, and like I haven't ever played with the dashing, the improved Flurry, that way you like dash your target, and it's so satisfying. Like I can look away from my computer and just hold right click, and I'm like flying through the dungeon just by virtue of having targets. So that's been really, and the fact that it has the mobility tag for the money rune and stuff like that. It's on. I think I'm excited for season 11 to build around it more. Like there's so many creative things. That's like the one thing I would hope for this game is like more playing with more mid tags. Adds so much flair to builds.
Preach.
But yeah, I would definitely say Fleur is my favorite so far.
Well, to no surprise, to anyone, Heartseeker.
But I played
for
a lot of
sure.
different builds.
Yeah, Heartseeker is my favorite for this season. Although I would say Renderville is a very close second, but Renderville is in the front of Horse is just like chef kiss for sure. Like, but Heartseeker in general benefited a lot from the Chaos Armor stuff and things, and so. But now when I say Heartseeker, I'm talking about standard Heartseeker, not the Orphan Maker variant. Although I don't dislike it, standard Heartseeker just feels so good to play. In general, and the fact that you can play it so many different styles, you can be more like assassin if you want to play it up close, or you can play or assassin with close quarters combat, or you can play it like a true bow rogue and do it with victimize. I feel like there's just enough variations that there's to fit anybody's play style or preference, and it's easy to play, and it's pretty easy to gear to as well. So, but yeah, Heartseeker.
All right, I think that
Speaking of season 11, I think it's on the store or whatever. It's like it seems like it's ending sooner than we thought, so we might have a PTR in like a month, perhaps.
Monkey.
Sooner than expected, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens. It would be kind of cool. But yeah, do we have any questions for chat? Otherwise, I think we are just about to wrap this up.
Yeah, one last thought while we potentially get some comments today. It's just Orphan Maker has, like, I know we've talked about it, that it's not in a great spot, but it's also, it has a unique feel to it. We've talked about identities and like being something different. And I wonder if they just like reduce the reload time, then all of a sudden it kind of just feels like another spam build, or like maybe they should like
That's the hard part
slow.
about it too. I
Yeah, so it's
agree
like,
with that. So
how do they?
it's
How
like
do they?
that's why I was
Yeah.
like saying if they just relax the penalty a little bit, not remove it by any means, but if they relax it a little bit, because the gameplay right now is so chaotic, right? So I like the fact that they went a different direction and they introduced something different. But it's like in a game where everything is chaotic and we're trying to push a lot of buttons because stuff is coming at us super quick, to feel like we're playing underwater just doesn't feel good in a game that's like this fast right now. Like I think the example I mentioned before in one of my streams is like it feels like the unique is in the wrong timeline. Like if it was like if that unique came out at the beginning of the game, perfect basically, because the gameplay was pretty slow at the time, you know, and things took a little, you know, a little while to, you know, to die. You actually cared about elite affixes, you know, etc. You know, right now it's just zoom, 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 and that's it, sort of type thing. So like, I just feel like it's, you know, it was in the, you know, makings in the works, but if it was in a different timeline, I think it would have, the current iteration of it would work out a little better. But
Here's
but
a
yeah,
crazy Orphan Maker change idea. What if instead of like whatever it says right now, it actually allows you to stack up to like 5 to 10 more combo points, and so then like you can like throw a bunch of basic skills for like 5-10 seconds and build up this huge hit. That could be cool. Or like if you have condemnation, maybe each attack generates 3 combo points. So then like if condemnation combined with Orphan Maker, now you can like stack 12 combo points and you can bring back that pen shot build from season 2.
I think they should
so
just bring back 22 combo points and be done with it.
There you go.
so I actually don't no so well that too, but but I like Mattia's idea because like that gives you choice while you're playing, right? So like maybe there's some situations where I don't really need the giga hit, right? So I'll just build, you know, the first of the combo points and be done. Or if I'm trying to, I really want to one shot this elite pack, so let me sit here and like stack the combo points and then boom, sort of thing. So like it gives you freedom to kind of be able to, okay, like what's, you know, in different scenarios, okay, you know, I don't have to spend this many time this much time spent, you know, building up basics like that. Or in a scenario I actually do because I want to one shot the boss or whatever, you know, or like that. So I'd be cool with that because then I would have different situations to apply the bonus in different ways.
As long as you can track things, I think that is the big caveat here, right? As long as you can track the combo points probably and all this stuff.
Precision, yeah, dude. I'm so mad we still can't track precision, man. That is so rough.
So there are like some key
combo
things.
Points have a nice icon.
No, it doesn't. Okay, it does in a way, but the problem is it flashes up the same way it did when we got random combo points or when we got a proc from condemnation. It looked the same because all 3 things flashes up every single time. So you can't really like rely on the visual of seeing like the 3rd combo point lighting up because it could just be that you got a random combo point.
That's a past problem.
Yeah. Yes. With condemnation, it's no longer a problem. Yeah.
So we just need RGB lighting around the combo point indicator. That we just
and just preferably it's like some you know, everything. But yeah. We just need weak auras to actually make me have like an entire weak aura completely littered across my entire screen. But yeah, I don't think there was anything else to really chat about.
Good talk.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I think these are actually kind of nice just to kind of align and talk about state of rogue and include chat in the process of like us just sort of discussing random
there was
ideas.
one thing to say actually. I don't think I mean we talk about it amongst each other all the time, but like just to put out in the podcast. It's really cool that despite the fact that Rogue tends to, uh, you know, hover at the very bottom of the pit push leaderboards. Outside of that, honestly, like the balance between the builds, despite how they play, is something that the devs has done an incredible job with in terms of internal balancing for the actual class itself. There's so many different builds that you can play in game, level your glyphs with, feel strong with, and the in-game activities.
That's true.
Like literally 6 or 7 different builds you can play and like feel like you're doing like major damage or you're really killing things, right? And so like that's hard to do. Like that's hard to get. Like if you play any lots of action RPGs or whatnot, and some in the past, and like getting that type of um internal class balance is difficult to do, right? So I will give the devs credit on that, where it's kind of like it's yeah. So I can literally hop on 7 or 8 different builds and variations and have fun blasting through any of the content.
That is true. I also do feel like the low hanging fruit that we perceive are low hanging fruits would also help those other builds that aren't currently supported in a way that would bring even more things to the table, right?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it feels like the game is slowly going to that direction. You know, the game is getting better every season, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying that just to blow smoke up their asses, or whatever. But like, I do genuinely feel like the game is slowly but surely going in a good direction. Um, Despite us being critical and cynical about some of the things that are happening.
Well, we need to, otherwise we wouldn't have a podcast, right? We
Terry.
just come in here and say, "Hey, I agree," and say, "Hey, you agree?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I agree." All right, chat, you agree? Yeah, we agree. All right, send it.
We're good at providing
Yeah.
solutions too.
Yeah, I
Right,
think
right.
that's the
So
important part, right? I think it's not like let's just sit here and doom about the state of the game or whatever, but it's like, all right, this is what I'm experiencing. I think this would be kind of a cool fix for it, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that's important, even though we aren't developers or anything, but helping provide some sort of insight into what would be cool, I think is helpful for everyone. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Mattias and Mr. Dioxide?
I would rate season 10 like an 8.4 out of 10. And I'll provide no context, but I'll just leave that there, and then in the future I can compare other seasons to it.
It's the start of the Mattias and mid-season comparison arc.
Exactly.
I guess somewhat following that, um, I'd probably give the season an 8 out of 10. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I enjoy personally. I enjoy the having to kind of farm in game for stuff like
Mm-hmm.
so the chaos armors, despite some of the issues that they do bring to the table. I like the idea of the chase for them in general, and not like trying to find it on a off website or whatever. And the fact that the economy is actually kind of legit mostly right now, which is kind of crazy. We have to actually farm for gold, which is has been a foreign concept for a while. Because it really feels like we kind of have to play with the in game systems a bit more, and I think the biggest thing that comes out from that is that we can actually get feedback on the in game stuff, or in the end side of the game stuff that we normally would not do, because you know the
That's
economy
true.
was what it has been for a long time. So it's like, now we can go, okay, well, we got to farm gold, right? Now we can get feedback on how that actually feels before, whereas we didn't care. We're just like, oh, just sell one item, have a, half, 500 billion gold, be done with it, right?
Yeah,
So like, so yeah, so I guess devs getting more feedback because the economy is actually legit is always a very good thing for the game going forward. So I'm having a pretty fun time this season.
that's good. To answer chat's question while answering this kind of, from my own perspective as well. If it's not limited to one equipped and stays like it is right now, would you guys like the Chaos Armors to become a permanent system? And I feel like the answer to this question is kind of what I feel about this season as a whole. I feel without any player agency, I don't like this system as much as I could like this system. And what I mean by that is not making it easier for people to find the armor, but the fact that like you have no safeguard, you have no way of, even target farming this for the most part, like the items that you need, and a little bit too much RNG in a seasonal system where you want people to be engaging with it and kind of, have a cool experience, right? So I feel like if we had some sort of crafting system that allowed us to, let's say, turn three chaos items into a chaos slot, at least of that your choice or whatever, so you could like fish a little bit for it or have some sort of agency over your RNG. I feel like this would be one of the best systems they've implemented in the game. Even if it's like,
What if? No,
go
you
on.
go.
No, like so I feel like they they are on the like very edge of having something that is truly transformative for this game. And if they just continue to like think about this and how it sort of played out and add some sort of player agency, I think this would be like one of the best additions they could add to the game overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great thing. I think if they made a crafting system where you spend one resplendent spark or whatever and you can turn any unique into another or a defensive slot or maybe even any slot. Why not? Just go crazy. And then you choose like I want to put my Word of a Con into a chest armor, and you can like do that. Like there's no like RNG involved other than you spending the resources. So you have to like farm to get there, and then you can make that happen. And let's say you can only have one chaos armor. I think that would be fantastic because there's so many builds that like need where like as a basic skill build you want to have Pain Gorger's gloves and Grasp of Shadow gloves. It's like okay, I can't use both, but then now all of a sudden you could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I like these guys' ideas that they mentioned, but for me, only if we can only have one. If it stays the way where we can have up to 5, I would. As much as I like the idea, I would say no if it's not limited, only because we start to invalidate what defensive slots are for, and also utility slots. So if we're just
I
kind
agree.
of stacking a bunch of like multipliers just because we can. Now all of a sudden, the chests and the pants and the boots that are supposed to provide like utility and defense stuff, we no longer care about and will never care about, right? So it's like, the meaning of what those slots are supposed to mean or would be completely gone if we can just stack them all on that side. So I feel like that has to matter in some way. Like, sure, the options may not be necessary or maybe not as appealing, but there has to be it has to be there for the devs to be able to try to make those more appealing. If we just get rid of them, I don't think that's good for the game long term. If we can slot 5 chaos armors, but if it was just one with the ideas that the others have mentioned, I would absolutely love that for sure.
Yeah, I do feel like we need to go back to utility being utility, defensive being defensive, and power being power, Uh-oh. Sorry, I didn't get time to mute. Because I feel like the second you don't do that, we're getting into the power creep central. Whenever a powerful utility that just increase your damage happens, then thank you guys. Sorry. When that is introduced, then you start getting this like really weird power creep kind of thing, right? So I would love to go back to being okay. Which of the utilities do I want? Do I want dash to make my cause a smoke grenade to land where I land or whatever? Do I want to have enemies get frozen when I spend energy, like whatever it could be, right? Like some utility that would make me think about which puzzle piece I'm putting together instead of ugh multiplier big, let's go. That's not fun for anyone, except for the people that like to see ugh big number. But yeah, I think that's where we kind of call it, so that we don't continue talking for another 3 hours about stuff, because we are definitely gonna do that. Um, thank you so much, Matthias and Dai, for dropping by and for having this talk to me. I appreciate you guys a lot for what you do for the community, but also for taking the time to be here. I'm gonna stream for a while longer and just hang out with you guys in chat. So, any closing,
Word.
extra closing statements?
Reclosing.
7. No, thanks for the chat. Looking forward to more Diablo in a few weeks next season. Bring it on.
In a few weeks. Oh, the PTR.
Yeah, I'm
is that what
telling
you're
you, it's gonna
mentioning?
happen. PTR in November.
Nice. Okay. I'm down. But yeah, that's it. See you later, guys. Appreciate it. It's been fun.
All right.
GG's.
GG's. I'll see you guys when I see you.